how you show up to anxious situations can make a huge difference. We're going to talk all about that. Stay tuned. That's what's up next. Hi, my name is Natasha Daniels. I'm a therapist and I make videos for people with anxiety or OCD. And today I want to talk to you about how you handle anxious situations. It's interesting to me because I feel like there is a baseline of how different people show up for anxious situations. And an anxious situation could be literally anything. It could be that you have a test. It could be that you are going to a party or a social situation. It could be that you're presenting. It could be that you're going to the doctor or the dentist, or it could be that you have to do something really scary and overwhelming in any capacity, whatever that may be. But I notice that there's different ways that people approach these things, different ways they think about it. I've seen this in my therapy practice, and I've seen it even with my own kids. And I think part of it has to do with wiring, how we're wired to be, to think, to handle these things. And I think the other part is our skills. And what I've noticed with the kids that I've worked with in my practice, and even with my own kids, is that some people have a natural inclination, a natural way of going to avoid. They think this is going to be a nightmare. They want to avoid. Whenever they're feeling overwhelmed, they avoid. When they have an anxious situation, they want to think of different ways that they can get out of it and avoid it. If they're forced to go or they know they have to go, they'll go kicking and screaming in their head and they'll think this is going to be terrible. And this is the stuff they're telling themselves. This is going to be terrible. It's going to be horrible. I'm not going to be able to get through this. I'm not going to survive it. This is going to be a nightmare. It's going to be the worst thing ever. And a lot of times it is. Because it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Have you ever heard that expression? It's like what you believe is going to happen happens because you're like, this is going to be horrible, 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 horrible. Oop, I'm here. Okay, it's horrible, 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 right? Some people are kind of wired to think in a negative way like that. Not even just people with anxiety disorders, but people in general. There are some people that just go to the negative. They don't want to. They don't want to be like that, but that's their general coping mechanism, is to go to the negative. The other type of person, and there's a lot of people in between, but the other extreme is the person that builds up that strength and is like, I don't want to do this. This is making me so overwhelming, but I got this. I can do it. This is a challenge. I know I can get through this. I've done it before, or I can do it now, and it's not going to be fun, but I'm going to get through it. And they might even go one step further and use some skills and say, I'm going to distract myself in the moment when I'm getting my shot, or I'm going to think about what it's going to be like when this is over, or I'm going to think about what's the worst that can happen, and I'm going to accept that. Whatever it is, they detach, they remove themselves from the anxiety. They say, your anxiety is over here, and I'm over here. I recognize that you're there, but I'm not owning you. I'm not teaming up with you. I'm not high-fiving you and giving you more fuel. I'm just saying, I know you're there, and I also know that I am a strong person, and I can get through this, and I will get through this. Now, I have some kids in my family who have that. Actually, my youngest is like that. I mean, she can really power through most things. She doesn't like to, and her anxiety disorder and her OCD is very immobilizing at times, but she has this power inside of her. I have another family member, another child, who doesn't have that strength naturally, but we have building skills. We've been pouring skills and talking about how do you shift your mindset when you go to these things. If you tell yourself it's going to be horrible, then you're high-fiving anxiety, and it probably will be horrible. So what's another way that you can do it? And I've noticed over a period of time, and this week we actually had something that was very, very anxiety producing for my other child, and they went and they showed up with power and strength, and they vocalized that they were using their skills, and they did phenomenal. And they said, I thought this was going to be okay. I was scared. My body was really scared, but I thought it was going to be okay. And it wasn't nearly as bad as my anxiety was saying. That was a huge win, because that child is not really wired to think that way. When they were 2 and 3, they didn't think that way. When they were 4 and 5, they didn't think that way. We've been working on skills, and we've made it so that it is that way. It's building those skills. So regardless of whether it's your natural way of thinking or you're building your skills, it can help so much, because when you approach an anxious situation with, let me arm up for this, right? I have an anxiety disorder and lots of things make me anxious all of the time. My anxiety is like, oh my gosh, this is so scary. My social anxiety is like, that's not going to be okay. You know, it's happening in 2 months. We should start worrying about it. So I have plenty of opportunities that are challenging, but I have, and I think I've had my whole life, just this natural desire to be like, this isn't going to take me down. I'm like stubborn and strong in that way. And I've built more skills on top of it. But my new attitude, as I've built my skills in the last, I would say 5 years, is to even be more empowering, to be like, I'm not only going to white knuckle it and get through it, I'm going to like not do anything to reduce my anxiety. Now that's a bigger step, right? But I'm like, I'm going to just be here, accept myself. I'm going to tolerate this. It's going to be uncomfortable, but I know I can handle it. I'm not waiting for it to not be uncomfortable, because I've realized that there are some things that will always be uncomfortable for me. That's okay. The goal isn't to always have situations be less anxious. I mean, sometimes that naturally happens. I don't get as anxious as I used to for lots of situations, but I don't feel it in my body or my mind nearly as much because I'm showing up and I'm arming myself with all those skills that keep me positive. Not like false positivity, like, yeah, rainbows and butterflies, you've got this. No, it's like, this is going to be hard, but who cares if nobody talks to you? Or this is going to be hard, but it's going to hurt for a minute and then it'll be fine. It's going to be hard, but you've done it before and you'll get through it. I know you can. Do you talk to yourself that way? Could you start talking to yourself that way? It does make a big difference. So start to build those muscles and flip it and see how you can change the way you view things when you're going to an anxious situation. What if this works out? What if I do this more often and I learn how to handle this uncomfortableness? Some things to think about. Well, I hope that you find the sparkle in everything you do, and I'll be back again next Thursday for a new video. Take care.